Welcome to the Grandstand Golf Podcast. This is the weekend golf update for the Farmers Insurance Open, the Omega Dubai Desert Classic. I am your host, Adam Bapty, and as always, I'm joined by my brothers, Craig.
Hey, how we doing, guys?
And Kevin.
How's it going, everyone?
Okay, guys, so we had Paul Casey dominating Dubai. We'll get to that in a second. Patrick Reed wins at Torrey Pines, but the real story is Patrick Reed, his conduct on Saturday. Craig, paint us a quick picture here. What happened, what went down, and the fallout.
Well, I mean, I don't know if that is the real story. I think the real story is Patrick Reed winning the tournament, but this is inevitably going to be the story that people choose that'll last longer in people's memory, I think. So essentially, he pulls a bunker shot up left into the hill. It goes into the rough. He goes to try to take an embedded ball, asks the volunteer if it bounced. She said she didn't see it bounce. His playing partner said they didn't see it bounce. We clearly had seen, I don't know if we had seen at that point on the replay, but we saw after the fact that it did clearly bounce, which means he would not get the embedded ball. He goes, he picks up the ball.
No, that's not entirely true. That, it can bounce and land in its pitch mark and be embedded.
Right,
yes,
which I think we saw with Rory.
Yes.
I think that's what the...
Yeah,
anyways,
setting up the Rory defense there early. But yeah, so I mean, the reads we saw it skip forward, like it didn't. It didn't unless it spun under the grass. It back into its own pitch mark. It was not in its own pitch mark. But anyway, so he goes up there. It looked like he marked it. He went to look at it. What Brandel Chambly really hates. He palms it. So he puts it in the palm of his ball, pokes around in there with his fingers, goes and puts it somewhere else. Anyways, huge controversy ensues. The rules official comes over, pokes around in there, decides yes, there was evidence that it had been embedded, and golf Twitter loses its mind, and ultimately no penalty. He was able to take the drop, and I don't remember if he went up and down or...
he did go up and down. He made a long par putt. I mean, okay, so jumping in. Kevin, do you want to go ahead?
No, go ahead, Adam.
I was just going to say, so the controversy really is that he picked up his ball. So he marked it with his tee. He picked it up and started doing whatever to it already, rather than just mark it, calling for an official, and then taking it from there. Also kind of implying, I poked around in here. It seems like it's embedded, leading the maybe rules official on a little bit. That's kind of what possibly went wrong. Kevin, what do you have to
I
add?
disagree with that a bit, because I don't think he does need to call. From everything that I have heard, I don't know personally. I mean, I haven't played tournament golf. I don't know, but it sounds like they can mark it and then check to see themselves. Typically, you would have someone else with eyes on it, like whether it's a playing partner or let people know what you're doing, and not sort of pick it up and disturb it and move it somewhere else. Like the extent that it went to, I think, was beyond what had happened. But then I think to me, sort of the crux of the issue is that the chances of that ball actually being embedded are so low. Like,
well, that's what
there would have to be like a layer of some sort of soggy organic matter, like essentially like clippings that have become kind of a soft little paste down there, and it skips, because it's not going to embed into a hard ground.
Right. And Craig, if I may interject here, that, with everything else about this whole situation, when the rules official was called, when he picked up his ball, all that stuff, I think that misses the point that the ball, by all accounts, was almost certainly not embedded. Mm-hmm. And so he picked up a ball that wasn't embedded and then created a narrative about how it was embedded and how he could get a drop. And what happened after that is kind of beyond the point, but the fact is that we saw the replay, we saw the ball bounce into a different spot. So essentially we're watching a ball drop from 2 or 3 feet into rough, which would soften the blow even from there.
Yeah.
And he's claiming it was embedded when he got there. And that's just
he was already about to claim. You could tell when he was walking up that's the story he was already building, asking the volunteer, which really has no... Anyways, yeah.
It doesn't pass
we're talking about evidence. Totally agree, and that's where, to me, letter of the law, I think that there's probably not a violation, but the spirit of the law. He needs to understand that he is no longer going to get the benefit of the doubt because of his history.
100%.
And so he needs to understand that he needs, especially when he's leading in a tournament, he needs to be overly cautious and like make sure that everything is above board. And he didn't do that. And like he left all of this air, all of this room for controversy.
Well,
because
and the thing is, the way he dealt with everything after, it was like a guy who was trying to act like he wasn't guilty when you could just kind of see him. It just
he's building this huge story. You don't go on that long of a rant to defend yourself if you really believe you're guilty. It brings me back to Rahm Memorial, where his ball oscillated, and at the end, when he was told that, he's like, "Oh, what? Like it did? Like I didn't." Okay.
Well, let's even move to a more like comparable example of Rory this week.
Yeah.
In the third round on 18, Rory to me is a guy that has always seemed to have a lot of integrity. He had that episode at the PGA Championship last year where he said
he's beyond reproach.
Yeah, he said he felt bad that his lie was too good after having an embedded lie or something like that, and so he like asked if he could settle it down further, essentially in the rough, to have it be more fair. And
he like smashed it into the ground a couple times. And
so again, essentially, Rory had the exact same thing happen. He was laying up. He hit a 5-iron into the rough right on 18. It did bounce up, and came back down in the rough just like Reeds did. He came up to it. I think he actually said that nobody saw it, so they didn't find it right away. They took about a minute and a half to find it, and then when they did, he bent down and he said, I think this is embedded. He said it to Rory Sabatini.
Yeah.
He marked it and he checked and he's like, yeah, it's embedded, and then dropped it. Now, there's the way he acted about that, there was no reason whatsoever to doubt him. He was very confident in what he was saying. It didn't seem like anything, like he was never waffling about any of that. It was just, I think, like what his explanation is, it must have come down in his pitch mark, like it was embedded.
And he when he dropped it sunk pretty low, and he wasn't able to go
back
up and down. Patrick Reed hugely improved his lie, without a doubt. That where he was able to put his ball, where his third shot took place, was a huge improvement to where it was resting.
Yeah.
So going back to what Craig said, if you're going in and it's your first time as a defender, you get the benefit of the doubt, but we see this again and again and again, and then he defends himself, and then he goes on Twitter, and then he goes on
Okay, but can we move on? Like, I'm so sick of this Patrick Reed thing. Like, it's super sketchy. It's
he did win by 5 shots, and
he won by 5 shots. Like
I'm sick of it. Like, you guys kind of explain the physics of it. I think we need to tell kind of the person behind, like, the fact that he went on both his Twitters, his burner and his real Twitter, and was yelling that Rory did the same thing. Like that, I think that's a judge of character too.
First of all, we don't know that it was him on the burner account.
Him or his wife. Come on, give me a break.
It was someone in Team Reed, it seems like, was on that burner account. I mean, unfortunately, that's the story that's going to dominate this week and this week's tournament. And he did win by 5. He played great golf, but just don't do that. Take your medicine.
Well, that to me is the biggest shame of this. It's like Patrick Reed's too good of a golfer. If he would just realize that he didn't have to, like, if he would realize what his image is, have some self-awareness, and like realize that, okay, if I spend a little while like just making, like, going over the top to make sure that that there's nothing that could possibly be thrown at me, then I'm going to be better off for it, but honestly, I'm just, maybe it's because I've been so deep in this story for the last 24 hours. I'm just so sick of it. Like
frankly, yes. I think everybody's exhausted from it.
I think it sucked the fun out of the tournament. I mean, but that's...
Well, no, him winning by 5 sucked the fun out of the tournament. Like, ultimately, if this would have been a close one, it would have just added to the drama and the controversy and everything.
Too. Yeah,
it's him winning too.
I mean, the reality is, though, you guys have cut grass at golf courses. There are all kinds of soggy places on golf courses. There's all kinds of places in deep rough where you've been cutting grass there forever, and you get little layers of schmag down there, and a ball could, like, so what I'm saying is,
It's possible.
We're saying that this person is for sure guilty and totally like it definitely does not pass the smell test, but it's not like we don't have on film the person, you know, he's not shooting someone in the face. We just walked into the room and there's the dead body and he's holding a gun, you know.
Standing over top of him.
There's a little bit of smoke. You know what I mean though? Like
anyone.
But again,
and that's the reason that he has gotten away with this, because there's plausible deniability. But ultimately, like,
it's a pattern of behavior, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's just I can't find myself enjoying a tournament where Patrick Reed's running away out front. You know, like,
no, I enjoy it when Patrick Reed gets beat. But I think I feel like this has been given enough air. I think that we do need to talk about.
I do agree.
Like, what happened today? Patrick Reed went into the day tied for the lead. There was a whole pack of people 2 shots back. He shot the best score of anyone who started the day within 5 strokes of him. I think only Luke List and Molinari, of anyone within the top 20 or 30, had better scores than him. Yeah. So he closed the deal. Like, there's a lot of people that if that had happened to them would have been totally, or not that had happened to them, had been in that situation, would have totally collapsed on Sunday.
Well, you know what they say about the guilty versus the innocent, right? When they are brought into interrogation, the guilty guy falls asleep because he's caught. What's the difference? The innocent guy stays awake all night panicking because he's trying to figure out why he's there.
But like, essentially, take a shot away from him on that hole. He dominated this golf tournament. Like, any actual thoughts on his golf?
No, like I'm super bitter. It felt like a gloomy Sunday with him running away with it. It feel like this fuels him while it brings kind of a rain cloud across all the other competitors because they're getting asked about it, but they don't really want to talk about it. It brings his Captain America cape on or whatever, and he just kind of took away. Like, yeah, he played great, awesome. He made
did you see
putts.
Xander's comments?
Yeah.
That's probably the comments I like most about it. Is basically there's a lot of talk in the locker room. There's a lot of talk amongst the guys. Like, essentially,
but essentially he seems to be protected by the rules officials are always going to just buy his narrative because they don't want to challenge that.
So I think that's the bigger conversation, and let's maybe kick that conversation down the podcast here because I want to talk about actual people playing golf. But I think to me the bigger conversation is that there's problems with the rule system if this is if it's protecting this situation.
So Patrick Reed, I think, proved or what won it for him this week, I think, was his short game. He was phenomenal around the greens. Just showed awesome touch from great lies all around the greens. But
look at 10 today.
Was getting up and down
Look
everywhere.
At 10 today. He was in schmeg behind the green. He showed great touch from there too. Like, separate Patrick Reed, the guy you don't like, from Patrick Reed, the golfer.
Yeah, no,
he's one of the best short game players of this generation. I mean, I'm not denying that.
Shots gained around the green. I think he led the field. He was phenomenal.
Putting, he was great.
Really
Yeah.
Okay, so Hovland, I think closest really chaser all day. What do you guys think of Hovland?
Last chance to threaten.
I'm impressed with Hovland. I mean, this is another high finish for him. He was like you say, chasing today. I don't know. I
was disappointed in the back nine.
Of course, disappointed in the back nine, but at least he was giving it a run for a while there.
He had a stretch. So 13, he missed that birdie putt. 14, he hit it left. To me, that was like the birdie putt, and then he hit it left into that hazard. He did a good job getting up and down to save a bogey there. 15, he hit it behind a tree off the tee and had to punch out and make bogey. And then I think it was 17 that he had the really bad 3-putt when he had a chance for birdie. Just like, you make that birdie on 13 and you clean up those mistakes. Like, he easily could have been putting the pressure on. And then he parred the par 5 18. So, like,
it's hard not to make bogeys on that back nine there.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
Everyone was going backwards except for Reed, really.
Mm.
I mean,
The one thing with Hovland is I'd like the announcers to move on the fact that his short game is his weakness, unless he has a poor chip or something like that. Like, it just seems like it's brought up every time.
Well, and that's something we've talked about. He is showing more. He's improving his short game.
Yeah.
And he's so young
100%.
and he's improving so quickly that it's still the narrative, but I don't think it is reality anymore.
it's funny because I was watching some of the feature group stuff. I think it was before round 3 or early in round 3. And I think it was Hovland playing with Rahm. Anyway, so they're both in a greenside bunker, and Rahm hits this shot out, and they just say, "That's just phenomenal," and it ends up maybe 6 or 7 feet away. And then Hovland plays a shot, and he did have a slightly better angle, but his ended up maybe like 8 feet away, and they're like, he's still working on that part of his game. You know, it's like, are we watching different shots here? Like,
There's this narrative.
just,
I mean,
is it just a cookie cutter comment that you have prepared for these guys?
Yeah.
pretty much.
But basically it is, yeah.
Okay, Kevin, your boy, Craig, you're one and done. Finau. He kind of
Finau.
needed a miracle down the stretch, but
Well, he needed a miracle down the stretch because he put himself in a position where he needed a miracle.
short missed putt.
So short missed putt, but before that, he lipped out 3 putt on 10 for a bogey.
yes, from
Knocked her
Really
stiff.
short.
He made a couple birdies, and then he had that ugly 3 putt when he had a legit chance to make birdie there. So that's a two shot swing,
Yeah.
and then finished with a sloppy bogey on 18.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was a bit of a roller coaster for him on the card today, but he is one of 2 guys this week to have 3 rounds in the 60s. He had a bad Saturday there. But he was a ways back going into today. It was going to be tough. I mean, if the number was 14, I don't think he was ever going to get there.
Oh, I just realized that I completely nailed the pick and number from our YouTube channel or YouTube show on Sunday. So
Yeah, because the birdie on 18.
there we go. All right. Huh. Go at 'em.
But I don't think this was the one Tony was gonna sneak in and win. So you can't complain about a second place finish in that scenario. I don't think he got every shot he probably could have out of today, but I don't think it's I think he's got to be leaving today in higher spirits than he did last week.
Carlos Ortiz and Sam Burns, 2 younger guys, tons of talent in the final group with Reed. Fell back in kind of different ways. Any quick thoughts? I had Burns on the 81 ticket. At one point, I was just praying for an each way because I also had that, but he kept slipping and slipping. Any thoughts on either one of them?
Yeah, well, I felt like Ortiz, they ended up, what did they end up? Not too far off each other in terms of score, but it felt like Ortiz was the worst collapse, maybe just because he went in there sleeping on the lead, and really it fell apart early, and
Well, Burns 4-putted the first hole, which is not a good
that's
start.
true.
And stuck it close, got a birdie back. They both looked like they were having a tough. Yeah, Ortiz finished plus.
Well,
6,
Ortiz,
Oh.
like I say, he fell apart early, but then he worked himself
Yeah,
back to even on the day through his front 9,
Yes,
and then it was just 11,
Brought
12.
it home with a 42.
Yeah, brought home with a 42. To be matched by Sanjay, who also had charged at one point and came home with a 42
Right,
on the back.
Yeah.
he was just like forgot about him. They were like, and Sanjay's really going to be posting a score in the clubhouse here, and
He got to -9, didn't he?
He got to minus
-9.
9.
Yeah.
I stepped out for a little while. I came back and was updating myself, and I was like, "Where's Sanjay? I must have missed him. Let me scroll back. No, there. Yeah, he went. So he was 42 on the back as well, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess he was going for it.
It's hard. Yeah, he's taking his shots. I mean, to the big guys out there, Rahm, Rory, any thoughts on? It felt like Rahm was never quite.
To
like,
me,
he was
that was
around
the
there.
most disappointing thing about Sunday, was that Rahm and Rory, like
Yes.
Hovland, I didn't expect Hovland to be the one putting up a charge. I was pleasantly
right.
surprised that he did.
Yeah.
I really thought Rahm was going to be. I thought Rory was going to end up doing something like 2 or 3 under, a pretty safe, backdoor top 5. And Rory was probably the most disappointing, but both those guys just were you didn't see much from them today.
Well, even
I'm
Rory,
gonna have to disagree with you there, because I think the most disappointing part of the day was my boy Adam Scott there. Not officially my boy, but my one and done pick this week. He unfortunately made 3 bad bogeys coming in Saturday to really kind of knock him down the leaderboard going into Sunday, but he was still in pretty good position, and just right from the get-go he just didn't get anything going, and then just started making more mistakes, and he did pretty well to get it back to +1 on the day by the end of it.
Well, I think anyone who saw that close of Saturday or saw some of his Saturday thought that might be more the trend than him turning around and start going low.
Well, I guess depends which lens you're looking through. When you're looking at him through a one and done pick, I think he can. Fair. I think he has a chance. I think he has a chance to claim that top spot. But
fair.
His putting was just so cold at some points. Like, he was knocking it stiff and missing 5-foot putts,
and not burning an edge, just like missing it a cup left.
I think his game is actually in decent shape for the result. It's just his scoring game is not in good shape.
Yeah, that's true. He at one point on Saturday, there was a stat they dropped on the broadcast where approached the green from 200 yards plus, the field average was like 51 feet proximity to the hole, and Adam Scott's was like 5.6 feet or something.
Oh yeah. He was crazy in some of those par 5s.
Yeah, he was hitting it. He was hitting it nice.
Okay, so I think everyone knows that the U.S. Open is going to be here at Torrey Pines this year, 2021. Taking this tournament, the 3 rounds each golfer had at the South Course. Anything that you're taking away from it? Does Patrick Reed become kind of more of a favorite? Have you changed up who you kind of penciled in as a one and done? Any takeaways?
No, I mean, to me, Patrick Reed he's more just a guy, like, he's a guy that can compete on championship golf courses, but it's not like I feel like this week makes it all the more likely that he's going to have a good U.S. Open. His ball striking doesn't always show up in the way that it did this week. I think his short game is usually fairly reliable. Obviously, putting can can get a lot of swings, whether putts are falling or not. But I would say if he hits the ball like he did, then chances are he's going to have a good U.S. Open. I think, to me, it just reinforces that we're going to have the best balls, like the top players in the world are going to be up there, because it's a beast as is, and I think it's going to be playing, especially you're going to have to be able to hit it a long ways and navigate deep rough, and they're narrowing fairways. It's going to be,
it won't be as soft as it was this week, that's for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
I think soft like the green and the fairways.
Yeah, everywhere. I mean, they're not.
Well, the rough, the rough will be thick and lush.
No, I'm talking about the actual it was softer because of the weather this week.
Like how my wife calls me soft.
No, I'm not talking about like that.
Oh, I thought you were. Oh, okay.
I'm talking. No, it's gonna be rock hard out there because it's gonna be in the middle of the summer. One of my takeaways is I'm more excited for the U.S. Open now.
Me too.
Torrey seems to deliver. There's eagles to be had at Torrey. There's bogeys awaiting on every hole. I think it's one of the reasons we love the Masters so much is the big swings that are possible everywhere. And the same's true about Torrey. Like, typically these guys are doing pretty well to grind out, a couple under, but that, -6, -7, it can be out there if guys just really catch a heater of a day. And that makes for exciting tournaments. I
totally agree.
Nobody's necessarily out of it. I mean, I think Sungjae made the cut on the number this week, and 9 holes into today, he was
the cut number.
But
he went all the way close to first and came all the way back.
9 holes in, he was only a few shots off the lead. After so
I think they have electronics scoreboards there. It's a good thing too, because if that was somewhere else, they'd be like putting his name, moving it up. Oh, they've got to move it back down.
But I'm excited about it, and I do agree with you. I think the best players in the world will rise to the top at Torrey, but we'll see who's in good
Yeah,
form.
I agree. I think the big
comes.
thing is that you can make birdies and you can make bogeys on the same hole. I've seen a lot of people talking about how they're less excited for the U.S. Open after this week, and I'm totally in the same camp as you, Kevin.
I totally disagree with that take. Yeah, I'm much more excited about it now. So, and maybe that's just because I haven't seen, I don't know how much of the Farmers I watched last year, and just seeing the course, knowing it's going to have the U.S. Open, it makes you pay a little more attention, I think.
And I think it was a good field.
Xander Schauffele, I think we can put to rest that Xander Schauffele doesn't play this course well. I think he proved that he can play anywhere, which I think we know. I think he needs to be a top 5, odds to win the U.S. Open if he's not already.
Are you trying to bait us into revealing what my one and done play is going to be?
No, I'm just saying I think at the top of the leaderboard, a person we haven't talked about is there's this narrative that he can't play because it's his home. He was, he was one of my picks DFS wise going into the week, and because he's being slept on a bit because he had 4 of 5 missed cuts here. Really just a poor course history. I think we can put that to bed. He came I think
it was a backdoor second, but even still,
that's what the best
if you're coming,
do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I will say that my one and done, just kind of who I've penciled in, I feel good about. They kind of just proved everything they needed to prove, so I feel good.
Good.
That's it. That's the tease. Okay, anything else with Farmers before we move on?
Now let's move on.
3 stars of the week. 3rd star, Patrick Reed. Okay, moving on. 2nd star. 2nd star, we're going to head over to Dubai. 2nd star, Robin McIntyre. Finished 3rd in Dubai.
Boy.
Your boy, Kevin's boy, Robbie Mack. Finished 3rd in Dubai, moved inside. This is the big reason he's number 2.
I was going to say, so 3rd in a tournament, and he's got all the way up to the 2nd star.
Yeah, he did better in the stars than he did in the tournament. But the placing in the tournament moved him inside the top 50 in the world. We've talked about on the podcast what all that means. If he can hold on to that, he's going to the Masters, he's going to go to the WGCs, all those things. It's that next step to becoming an elite worldwide player on the global stage. I think we've seen that. So his last 7 starts on the European Tour, going from 7 to kind of recent: T3 win, T6, T19, T23, T16, and a 3rd. He hasn't gone outside the top 25 in his last 7 starts, and he's gotten a win. That's incredibly consistent.
Yeah, I think that we are a ways from top 50. It's the week of the Masters, but he's doing the right things right now. He's on the right track.
But just
now there is
looking
the
at it
WGC.
too, it doesn't look like he's got anything big that's going to be falling off the back end anytime soon.
It would be other people, other people getting wins or getting high finishes and moving past him. But I would think, I don't know that the WGC Mexico that they're playing in Florida, he'll likely be in that. I would imagine. So.
Well, he would if he decides to come over for it, I guess.
Yeah.
Also, Ryder Cup year.
Yeah.
It's a big year.
It's going to be exciting. I'm really excited. I think there's a lot of competition on that Euro team. There's this old guard that won it, the Poulters and Rose and Garcia. There's not enough spots for all the people who feel like they should have a spot on that team, So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
First star, Paul Casey. I don't know is he part of this old guard? Maybe.
I think he is part of the old guard, but I think he's showing that he's going
changing of the guard.
I think he's showing he's still one of the guys.
Yeah.
So again, the Dubai couldn't watch as much as I would have liked. It's a completely opposite schedule for me. So
I catch a little bit at night and then a little bit in the morning.
Exactly. I saw his last. I saw his round. Super emotional. 15th European Tour win. So Paul Casey won in Dubai this week. Got his 15th European Tour win. Super emotional afterwards. I think he moved up to 16 in the world. Again, just big points for Olympics and for Ryder Cup this year. It meant a lot. I love seeing it. He's a pretty easy guy to cheer for.
Up to 16th in the world. Had a 1-shot lead going into today and made the most of it, expanded on it. So I would like to see my boy Robbie Mack press these guys a little more on Sunday. That's the second Sunday in recent memory that he went backwards on Sunday when he was kind of around the lead there. So, you know, it'd be nice to see him kind of pressing these guys a bit more. But that's, you know, he's
it's a
young.
maturation process, right?
Exactly. The more times you get there, the more times the more comfortable you'll feel. And you know, maybe next time when it's him and Paul Casey at the end, he'll prevail. We'll see.
I also feel like us pasty Scottish guys, maybe being in the desert in the Middle East is not exactly the easiest. Get some nice windy links. Although I've heard actually links golfers do pretty well on these courses out there, just in terms of design. Yeah.
Oh, that's
most desert golf, you'll have wind, right? You would think.
Yeah, wide open.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to